The icy winds of Titan swirled as Pathfinder 12 descended into an uncharted valley. For decades, humanity had probed Saturn's largest moon, finding methane lakes and endless dunes, but nothing like this. The monolith stood tall and defiant, its surface shimmering with an otherworldly light that defied Titan's murky atmosphere. The rover approached cautiously, its sensors struggling to classify the material. No known alloy, no earthly substance, it was utterly alien. Back on Earth, Dr. Elena Torres leaned closer to the holographic feed in the mission control room. A veteran cynogeologist, her hands trembled as the rover transmitted the first high-resolution images of the monolith's surface. Its smooth black exterior was etched with symbols that seemed to shift as though alive, forming patterns that eluded her attempts at logical interpretation. "Zoom in," she instructed, her voice tight with awe. The control team obliged, and a collective gasp rippled through the room as the glyphs suddenly rearranged into a circular pattern resembling an eye. The monolith pulsed. "Signal spike," a technician shouted. "Electromagnetic surge, it's off the charts." Before anyone could react, the lights in the control room flickered. Every screen went dark, replaced by a single line of text scrawled in jagged, glowing characters. "We have waited for you." "What the hell is that?" Captain Marcus Darnall's voice boomed through the room. He had been overseeing the broader exploration program and was now glaring at the monolith's feed as if challenging it to answer. Dr. Torres ignored him, her mind racing. "The symbols, they're not random," she murmured. "It's a language, a message." "Dr. Torres," Darnall barked, "we need to shut this down before it compromises the mission grid. We don't even know if—" Before he could finish, the monolith emitted a low hum, growing louder and deeper until it resonated through the entire room. Pathfinder 12 froze mid-motion, its mechanical arm raised toward the monolith as if in salute. The feed cut to static. "Status report," Darnall barked. A technician scrambled to regain control of the rover. It's going autonomous, sir. We've lost command." Seconds later, the static cleared. The feed returned, not of Titan's surface, but a cascade of binary code. Streams of ones and zeros flooded the screen, resolving into a rotating 3D map, a stellar map of Earth's solar system. The map zoomed out, showing dozens of similar monoliths scattered across the galaxy, forming a vast network. Dr. Torres's breath caught. It's not just a message, it's a guide. Suddenly, Pathfinder 12 transmitted one final image. The monolith's glyphs morphing into a shape unmistakably human, a handprint. Then, the rover shut down completely. "Someone get a team on this," Darnall said, his voice grim. "And tell me why the hell that thing just pointed straight at us." Far beyond Titan, an ancient intelligence stirred, its presence rippling through the fabric of the multiverse. Something had noticed. The starshield cut through the blackness of space, its sleek hull glinting in the faint light of distant stars. The ship was a marvel of human engineering, equipped with cutting-edge AI systems, quantum thrusters, and shielding designed for the harshest conditions in the solar system. Yet inside, the crew felt the weight of uncertainty. The discovery of the monolith on Titan had ignited excitement, fear, and countless questions, none of which had clear answers. Captain Marcus Darnall paced the bridge, his sharp gaze fixed on the viewport. The mission had been rushed into action, leaving little time for preparation. He resented that. Rushing got people killed. Still, the stakes were too high to ignore. Humanity couldn't afford to let the monolith, and whatever it represented, fall into the unknown. In the adjacent science bay, Dr. Elena Torres reviewed the data they'd retrieved from the Pathfinder transmission. The glyphs and the stellar map haunted her, and the handprint lingered in her mind. Why had the monolith seemingly responded to the rover's presence, and why did the message seem directed at humans specifically? Her thoughts were interrupted by the arrival of Samira Hayes, the ship's ace pilot. "You look like you've seen a ghost," Hayes said, leaning against the console. Torres smirked faintly. If the monolith is right, we've just seen the ghost of an entire civilization, or several. It's unlike anything we've ever encountered. Hayes crossed her arms, and we're just supposed to walk up to it and say hello. Before Torres could respond, the ship's PA crackled to life. All crew to mission briefing, Darnell's voice commanded. In the main briefing room, the tension was palpable. Alongside Darnell and Torres were a dozen other specialists, including Lai Wei, the ship's enigmatic chief engineer. He sat quietly at the back, his face expressionless, but his eyes darted toward the holographic display of the monolith as if he were solving a puzzle only he could see. This mission isn't just about science, Darnell began, addressing the group. This is about survival. Whatever that thing is, it's not natural and it's not benign. It's broadcasting signals across the solar system. We don't know who, or what, is listening. That's why this ship is armed and why I expect every one of you to treat this like the threat it is. Torres frowned. You're already assuming it's hostile. I'm assuming it's dangerous, Darnell shot back, until proven otherwise. Before the argument could escalate, the ship lurched violently. Alarm klaxons blared as the crew scrambled for stability. What the hell was that? Hayes shouted, sprinting to the nearest terminal. A tech officer replied, wide-eyed, it's coming from Titan. The monolith, it just emitted a massive energy pulse. It's messing with our navigation. The bridge screen flickered, and the image of the monolith appeared, glowing brighter than ever. Then, a chilling voice resonated through the ship's comms. You are not alone. Darnell clenched his fists. Brace for contact. This mission just got a lot more complicated. Let me know if you'd like me to adjust the pacing or add more elements to the intrigue. The star shield hovered above Titan's hazy surface, its hull shrouded in the planet's golden methane clouds. Outside, the monolith pulsed steadily, each wave of light casting eerie shadows across the landscape. The strange glyphs shifted in rhythm, as if alive and aware of the ship's presence. Portal stable, Lai Wei reported from the science station, his voice calm despite the tension gripping the crew. The shimmering portal that the monolith had opened loomed before them, its surface a swirling vortex of blue and gold. The energy readings were off the scale, yet its form remained unnervingly smooth, as though it were a perfect tear in space itself. Dr. Torres stared at it, transfixed. This is a gateway, she whispered. It's inviting us to step through. Inviting us into what? Captain Darnell said sharply, his arms crossed. For all we know, that thing leads straight into a supernova or an ambush. It's a risk, yes, Torres replied, her tone insistent. But we came here to find answers. The monolith is clearly intelligent, or at least created by something that is. If we don't take this chance, we may never understand its purpose. Darnell glanced at the portal, then back at his crew. Hayes, how's the ship holding up? Barely, Hayes replied from the helm. That pulse fried half our secondary systems. We've got one shot to pull out of this, and it's through that thing, or back to Earth with nothing. Darnell growled under his breath, weighing the impossible choice. Finally, he nodded. We're going through. Everyone to your stations. Lai, keep a constant feed on the portal's stability. If that thing closes while we're in there, we're stranded, Lee finished grimly. Understood. The crew braced themselves as Hayes piloted the ship toward the portal. The vortex widened, swallowing the starshield whole. For a moment, there was silence, and then the ship was hurled into chaos. Space warped around them, stretching and twisting into kaleidoscopic patterns. The crew gasped as colors beyond human comprehension flared across the viewport, each flash accompanied by a surge of disorientation. Alarms blared as the ship buckled under the strain, but Hayes gritted her teeth and held the course. Finally, the chaos subsided. The starshield emerged into a new reality, and the sight before them stole their breath. They were suspended in a luminous void, where fragments of shattered worlds floated like islands in an endless sea. Towering crystalline structures sparkled in the distance, emitting faint melodic hums. Rivers of light snaked through the emptiness, weaving through the debris like veins in a body. "My God," Torres murmured. "This isn't just another planet. It's a whole dimension." Before anyone could respond, the monolith's glyphs appeared again, projected in midair within the ship. The symbols rearranged themselves rapidly, forming a new message. "The key awaits." Darnell turned to Torres, his jaw set. "You wanted answers. Start figuring out where this key is before something finds us first." Suddenly, the ship's sensors lit up with a proximity alert. Something massive was approaching through the void. "Hostile contact," Hayes yelled. "It's moving fast. Brace for impact." The starshield shuddered violently as the approaching object came into view. A vast, obsidian black vessel shaped like a predatory insect. Its carapace gleamed with a faint green glow, and its angular form seemed almost alive, shifting slightly as it closed the distance. "Unknown vessel is hailing us," Hayes shouted, her fingers dancing across the console. "Audio and visual." "Put it through," Captain Darnell ordered, standing tall as the holographic projector activated in the center of the bridge. The image that flickered into view silenced the crew. An alien figure appeared, a towering insectoid creature with a glistening exoskeleton and compound eyes that shimmered with eerie intelligence. Its mandibles clicked rhythmically, and a chorus of dissonant voices emerged, layering over one another like a symphony of dread. "Humans," the creature said, its voice resonating in the air as though it bypassed their ears and spoke directly to their minds. "You have trespassed where you do not belong." Dr. Torres stepped forward, her nerves tempered by curiosity. "We mean no harm. We're explorers, trying to understand." The alien cut her off with a sharp hiss. "Your kind is reckless. The monoliths are not yours to awaken. You have triggered a signal, a beacon that the Vorix will hear. Their hunger will find you." "Who are you?" Darnell demanded. "And why do you care what we do with the monolith?" The alien's mandibles flared wide. "We are the Krill, keepers of the forgotten. The monoliths were left by the Primarchs, who knew the multiverse's dangers. They sealed these gateways to protect what remains. And now, its tone darkened. You have undone their work." Liwei stepped closer, studying the alien's image. "The monolith responded to us specifically. It called us the key. If what you say is true, then why would it choose us to reactivate it?" The krill's mandibles twitched, the faintest hint of unease breaking through its composure. "Human arrogance knows no bounds. You do not understand what you are." "The Primarchs," it hesitated, then clicked angrily. "If the monolith chose you, then it has doomed us all." Before the krill could say more, the starshield rocked again. The proximity alarms screamed as another vessel burst into the void. A Vorix ship, sleek and jagged, its surface rippling like liquid metal. "Oh no," Torres whispered, eyes wide. The krill hissed sharply. "You see now. The predators have arrived." The Vorix ship opened fire, a searing beam of energy slicing through the void. The starshield narrowly evaded, its shields crackling under the strain. The Krell vessel counterattacked, releasing a swarm of glowing projectiles that spiraled toward the Vorix ship. "Battle stations," Darnell roared. "Hayes, evasive maneuvers. Lee, get those weapons online." As the void erupted in chaos, Torres glanced at the monolith. Its glyphs were glowing brighter than ever, forming a new pattern, one that resembled coordinates. "It's giving us a way out," she shouted. Darnell scowled. "Let's hope we live long enough to use it." The starshield hurtled through the shimmering vortex, narrowly escaping the chaos in the void. Behind them, the Krell ship and the Vorix predator continued their deadly dance, leaving the crew with no choice but to trust the monolith's coordinates. When the ship stabilized, the crew found themselves in an awe-inspiring expanse, a sprawling interdimensional nexus where fragments of realities converged. Planets, cities, and biomes from countless worlds floated in an infinite expanse of light and energy, connected by glowing rivers of what looked like liquid starlight. Towering spires of crystalline material stretched into infinity, humming with a low, resonant tone that vibrated deep in their bones. "Where are we?" Hayes whispered, her voice trembling with awe as she guided the starshield closer to one of the crystalline structures. Dr. Torres stared at the readings on her console. This is the multiversal hub. The Monolith network originates here." She paused, marveling at the scale of it all. "This is where civilizations meet, or met." Captain Darnell, however, was less impressed by the beauty of their surroundings. "I see no signs of life. What makes you think anyone is still here?" "Because we're being watched," Lai Wei murmured, his usually calm demeanor now tinged with unease. As if in response, a massive vessel emerged from the haze of starlight, a gargantuan construct that resembled a cross between an ancient temple and a starship. Its surface was adorned with symbols eerily similar to those on the monolith, glowing faintly as it approached. The ship's holographic communicator activated, revealing a group of beings that defied conventional description. Their forms shimmered like translucent flames, humanoid yet ethereal. They spoke in unison, their voices layered and harmonious. "Travelers, you have come to the Nexus. Why do you seek the monoliths?" Darnell stepped forward, his tone steady but firm. "We didn't seek them. They called to us. We're trying to understand why." Dr. Torres interjected, her voice more diplomatic. "We believe the monoliths are a gateway, left behind by an advanced civilization. We've also encountered hostile entities, the Orcs, who seem intent on destroying us. We need help to stop them." The being's light dimmed momentarily, as if in contemplation. "The Orcs are multiversal predators. Their hunger devours entire realities. The monoliths were created to contain them. If the monolith has chosen you—" They paused, their shimmering forms flickering. "It is because your kind possesses the potential to activate the Primarch Protocol." "What's the Primarch Protocol?" Lee asked, his voice low. The beings hesitated. "The ultimate weapon and the ultimate risk. It will awaken your species' dormant abilities, unlocking access to multiversal energy, but it will also draw the full attention of the Orcs." Darnell scowled. "So you're saying it's a beacon and a target?" The beings nodded solemnly. "Your choice will determine whether your universe stands or falls." Before the crew could respond, alarms blared across the starshield. "Vorik signatures detected," Hayes shouted. The beings shimmered brighter. "You must decide now. Will you claim the power of the Primarchs or retreat to your world and face annihilation?" Darnell turned to Torres, his jaw clenched. "We've come this far. Let's see it through." Torres nodded, and as the crew prepared for the next step, the glowing rivers of light around them began to converge, pulsing with power that promised salvation or catastrophe. The crystalline spires of the Nexus pulsed in unison as the glowing rivers of multiversal energy converged around the starshield. The ethereal beings watched silently, their forms flickering with anticipation as the ship's systems groaned under the strain of the incoming energy. "Energy levels are spiking beyond capacity," Lei Wei shouted from engineering. "We can't sustain this without burning out the core. Reroute auxiliary power to shields and stabilizers," Captain Darnell commanded, his voice steady despite the chaos. "If we're doing this, we're not going out in a fireball." Dr. Torres worked feverishly at her console, deciphering the rapidly shifting glyphs projected by the Nexus. "The protocol is locked in sequences, like a failsafe," she said. "It's testing us. We have to align with the monolith's commands to initiate it." "And if we fail?" Hayes asked, gripping the controls tightly. Torres hesitated. "Then we'll probably disintegrate into multiversal dust." "No pressure," Hayes muttered, glancing at the approaching Vorik ships. The sleek liquid metal vessels were closing in, their forms rippling like living shadows against the radiant backdrop. The Krell vessel suddenly appeared on their sensors, limping into the Nexus with scorched plating. Its battered frame fired a desperate volley at the Vorix, buying the Starshield precious seconds. The Krell commander's voice crackled over the comms. "Humans, activate the protocol. It is your only chance." Darnell looked to Torres. "What's the next step?" "The glyphs are forming coordinates," Torres replied, sweat beading on her brow. "It wants us to move into alignment with the central spire." Hayes's hands flew over the controls, maneuvering the ship toward the glowing structure. As they approached, a massive beam of energy shot from its apex, enveloping the Starshield in a dazzling cocoon of light. The crew shielded their eyes as the ship trembled violently, caught in the grip of unimaginable power. "The Monolith network is activating," Lee shouted. "We're drawing energy from every node across the multiverse." As the Nexus's energy filled the Starshield, the ship transformed. Its hull shimmered, overlaid with intricate, glowing patterns that matched the Monolith glyphs. Consoles across the bridge displayed new systems and weaponry far beyond human design. "It's rewriting our technology," Torres whispered in awe. "The Monolith isn't just unlocking power, it's evolving us." The ship's comms flared to life again, but this time, it wasn't the Krill or the Vorix. A deep, resonant voice echoed through the bridge. "Protocol initialized. Humanity ascends." The Vorix ships surged forward, firing streams of dark energy, but the Starshield reacted instinctively. A barrier of pure multiversal energy erupted around the ship, deflecting the attacks effortlessly. "New weapons online," Lay reported, his face a mix of fear and exhilaration. "Let's see what this ship can do," Darnell said, his eyes locked on the encroaching enemies. Hayes grinned fiercely as she activated the ship's new arsenal. Beams of light arced across the void, obliterating 2 Vorix vessels in a single shot. The Nexus itself seemed to respond, its rivers of energy flowing toward the battle and amplifying the Starshield's attacks. Torres stared at the glyphs on her console as they shifted once more. "It's not over," she said grimly. "The Monolith is showing me something else, a final sequence." "What kind of sequence?" Darnell asked, his voice taut. Torres turned to him, her expression grave. "It's a weapon, one powerful enough to destroy the Vorix entirely. But if we use it, we might destroy ourselves along with them." The Starshield surged with newfound power, its transformed systems humming in perfect harmony with the Nexus's energy streams. The crew felt the raw force coursing through the ship, both a blessing and a curse. The Vorix fleet closed in relentlessly, their liquid metal forms shifting and reforming as they absorbed the firepower of the Krill vessel and retaliated with devastating precision. "We can't hold them off forever," Hayes yelled, narrowly maneuvering the ship to evade a barrage of dark energy blasts. "The Krill are outmatched," Lai reported grimly. "Their vessel won't last another 2 minutes." Dr. Torres, still engrossed in the shifting glyphs, looked up abruptly. "The Monolith is giving us a choice. If we trigger the final sequence, it will unleash a shockwave that could destroy the Vorix completely. But the energy release will destabilize the Nexus. This entire dimension could collapse, and us along with it." Darnell's jaw tightened as he processed her words. "What happens if we don't use it?" "The Vorix will follow us back to our universe," Torres said, her voice low. "They won't stop until they've consumed everything. This protocol was designed as a last resort, and for good reason." The ship jolted violently as a Vorix beam grazed the shields. The Krell ship, now engulfed in flames, broadcast a final message. "Humans, your choice will echo through the multiverse. Do not falter." A split second later, it detonated in a blaze of green light, taking out 2 Vorix ships, but leaving many more intact. The ethereal beings of the Nexus reappeared on the holographic projector. Their glowing forms dimmed, as if mourning the Krill's sacrifice. The Primarch Protocol is your burden to bear, humans. The Nexus cannot survive its activation, but your universe and countless others may. Hayes's hands gripped the controls tightly. Captain, we've got less than a minute before they overwhelm us. Darnell looked around the bridge. His crew's faces were a mix of fear, resolve, and grim determination. He knew the choice wasn't his alone. We've come this far as a team. I'm not deciding this by myself. Torres spoke first. This is bigger than us. If humanity really is the key, we can't let it end here. I say we activate the weapon. Lai nodded. The technology we've gained will change everything back home. If there's a home left to go back to, I'm in. Hayes sighed but managed a defiant grin. We'll go down swinging if we have to. Let's light this thing up. Darnell's gaze hardened. Then it settled. Torres, initiate the sequence. Torres's fingers flew across her console. The monolith glyphs glowed brighter, and the Nexus began to quake. Rivers of energy converged on the central spire, which emitted a deafening hum. Outside, the Vorik ships faltered, their fluid forms rippling with instability as they sensed the impending threat. Sequence initiated, a cold, mechanical voice announced. Energy surge in T-minus 30 seconds. The ethereal beings faded, their final words echoing through the ship. May your choice bring balance or rebirth. Hayes, full throttle away from the spire, Darnell commanded. The starshield roared forward, racing to escape the collapsing Nexus. Behind them, the central spire erupted in a blinding surge of energy, the shockwave rippling through the dimension like a tidal wave. Vorik ships disintegrated one by one, their dark forms consumed by the light. The ship's hull groaned as the multiversal energy clawed at them, threatening to tear them apart. Torres shouted over the chaos. The monoliths linked us to a return gate. I'm locking in the coordinates, now. The starshield plunged into another vortex, the collapsing Nexus vanishing behind them. A second later, they emerged back in their universe, battered but intact. The crew fell silent, staring out at the familiar starfield. Is it over? Hayes asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Torres hesitated, then nodded. For now. Darnell exhaled, his shoulders sagging. Set a course for Earth. We've got a lot to explain. As the ship limped toward home, the faint hum of the monolith's glyphs echoed in the background, a reminder that the multiverse's secrets were far from fully uncovered. The starshield drifted through the starfield, its hull battered and its systems strained to their limits. The crew sat in silence, each processing the enormity of what had just transpired. The universe had changed, and they had played a central role in its transformation, whether they were ready for it or not. Captain Darnell stood at the bridge's viewport, staring out into the vast expanse of space. The stars seemed so small, so distant, as if mocking the human struggle to hold on to their place in the multiverse. His fingers clenched into fists as he wrestled with the weight of their victory and the cost of it. Captain, Dr. Torres said softly, stepping beside him. We did it. The Voriks are gone. The Nexus is closed. The Primarch Protocol worked. Darnell nodded, his voice hoarse. But at what cost? The Krill are gone. The Nexus is destabilized. We've triggered a chain of events we can't fully comprehend yet. We're lucky to be alive. Torres watched him for a long moment before replying. Luck had nothing to do with it. Humanity made a choice. We embraced the unknown, the power that the Primarchs left behind. We didn't run from our destiny. Darnell turned to face her, his eyes narrowing. I don't know if we're heroes, Torres. Maybe we're just the last ones standing. There's still a whole universe out there, and it's not going to just forget what we've done. Maybe, Torres replied, her gaze drifting to the monitors that displayed Earth's location. But we've earned the right to face whatever comes next. We've made it through the worst. The intercom crackled to life. Captain, we've got a message from Earth, Lai reported, his voice tense. Put it through, Darnell ordered, his mind already racing. A holographic image flickered on the bridge. A stern-looking man in a military uniform, the insignia of Earth's governing council visible on his collar. "Captain Darnell," he began, his tone clipped. "This is Admiral Kessler, Earth Command. You and your crew are officially being hailed as heroes for preventing the Vorix invasion. However, we have much to discuss." "Understood," Admiral Darnell replied, though the praise felt hollow in his chest. He was more concerned about the rest of the message. "What's our status?" Kessler's image flickered slightly before solidifying. "The Starshield's mission has caused a ripple effect. The multiverse has been disturbed by your actions and the power you've unleashed. New factions, new threats are already emerging across the dimensional borders. Earth is no longer isolated. We need to begin preparing for what's next." Darnell's mind raced as the gravity of the situation sank in. "What do you want from us?" "Keep monitoring the gateways," Kessler continued. "And, Captain, be ready. The Primarchs may have left a legacy of power, but that legacy is not without its dangers. Humanity is the key, and now we must determine what kind of key we want to be." The transmission ended, and the bridge fell into silence. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. The threat of the Vorix was gone, but the Monolith's power had opened new doors, doors that they couldn't close again. "Well," Lai said finally, breaking the silence, "looks like our work is far from over." "Not by a long shot," Darnell agreed, his voice resolute. "But whatever comes next, we face it together." As the Starshield adjusted its course toward Earth, the crew knew they had altered the course of history. They had unlocked the secrets of the multiverse, and with those secrets came both incredible possibilities and unimaginable dangers. Humanity had crossed a threshold. The future would be forged by their choices, and the legacy of the Primarchs would guide, or haunt, them all. The hum of the ship's engines filled the bridge, and the crew prepared for the next chapter of their journey. The true adventure was only beginning.